Hello friends, how's it going? It's me, Betty Jean. Today's video is going to be a ranking video. I'm gonna rank the last 10 eyeshadow palettes that I tried recently. I feel like there are some major bangers in this pile. Really only one palette I would say that I not even fully dislike. It just was for sure my least favorite. There's some problems I have with it, but a lot of these were really, really good. This was a really tough ranking, but I love doing these videos. I love kind of giving my kind of recap on things I've tried recently, kind of determine what I like more than others and why. And I love hearing your thoughts as well, just on these palettes in general, if you want any of them, if you've already picked them up yourself. It's always so fun for me. As always, I initially got this video idea from Annette's Makeup Corner. I'll have her channel linked down below. And of course, I did film this look. It should already be up on my Instagram and TikTok and YouTube Shorts by the time this video goes up. And as far as my accessories today go, this choker I got at a shop in Orlando called Prometheus Esoterica years ago. I don't know what the actual brand of this choker is. And these earrings used to be dangly plugs from Love Kills Boutique, but I turned them into earrings. So yeah, without further ado, let's just hop in and rank all these palettes. All right, this was a tough one. Like I mentioned, this was really tough. Like I knew for sure what the bottom one was gonna be, but really a lot of these top ones, I could have moved in so many different directions. I was certain of number 1 and I was certain of number 10. Everything else I feel like I could have moved around. And as always, if you think I'm forgetting something in this ranking, I promise you I'm not. I take very thorough notes all the time. It was either in the last ranking, I haven't tried it yet and it'll be in the next ranking, or I've simply never tried it before. And you are mistaken. I've also done looks with all of these palettes, sometimes multiple looks across like YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, all that good stuff. So you can search my various platforms if you want to see all of these like actually in action. But let's just hop into it with number 10. Number 10, I ended up giving to my Dream Gaze palette from Alter Ego. This is supposed to be a dupe for the Natasha Denona pastel palette. And I think it's cute. I like a pastel palette, but for one of my big qualms with Alter Ego's formulas is they do this like cream matte kind of texture where it's more of a creamy texture, which supposedly Natasha Denona does it too. I just don't shop Natasha Denona. It's just not a brand I really use, but I just really dislike it from Alter Ego. I feel like it never gets as pigmented as it looks in the pan. I wish they would just stick to their really pretty shimmers and their really killer powder mattes, but alas, here we are. And this has a few of them. Not my favorite thing. And on top of that, I feel like the other mattes in general in this palette are just a little lackluster. And I get that pastels are supposed to be lighter. That's kind of the point of pastels, but I feel like they need a little more saturation. I don't want them to be so dusty muted that they barely show up on me, who is a ghost after all. I feel like this could have been a little more punchy, in my personal opinion. It's just, out of all my pastel palettes, it's probably not the first one I'm gonna reach for. The shimmers in here are really, really pretty, but all the mattes leave something to be desired, unfortunately. Moving on to number 9, and even though this is the same brand that I just talked about, I need it to be very clear that in my mind, this number 9 and number 10, these are very separated. Like, number 9 I actually genuinely like, whereas number 10 I had issues with. It's gonna be the Wildwood from Alter Ego. This is their newest one. This is supposed to be a dupe for the Natasha Denona Yucca palette. I've really enjoyed playing with this color story. Again, the shimmers are really, really pretty. I think the mattes are really nice in here. They definitely pack more of a punch. We do have 2 of that cream matte texture, which isn't my favorite thing, but there's only 2 of them, thank goodness. And I do think everything else just works really well together. I think this is really pretty to work with. I like these grungy warm tones, the pops of teal, the mustardy yellows. It's all doing really good things. This honestly might be my favorite Alter Ego palette they've ever done so far. I really, really have enjoyed this one. The only reason I decided to put this one as number 10 is just because there are 2 of those shades in that formula that I really don't like, and I don't have a formula issue with anything else I'm gonna talk about in this video, so that's the only reason this one ended up getting ranked as low as it did. If for some reason this palette had come out without the creamy matte texture and it was only their powder mattes, I would have ranked this much higher. Like it probably would have been like maybe number 5 or number 6. I really enjoy this color story. I enjoy playing with it. I enjoy the formulas that are in here. It's just those creamy mattes that made this get knocked down a few pegs, but I do like this palette overall. I definitely think it's my favorite one they've done. Moving on now, this is where things got really, really hard. Really, 876. I've moved these in different orders 100 times, and I think I've settled on this order, and I think I went with this order just because of what I'm more likely to use. But again, all 3 of these next ones I really, really like. I could have put them in any order, so these are not bad palettes at the end of the day. Long story short. Number 8 is gonna be the Nueva Vida. This is the newest collab between Gourmande Girls and Steph's Beauty Stash. This is so much fun. It's so punchy, so so lively to play with. I included this in my spring favorites. I've had such a blast playing with this one. I love these bold, bright pops of color. I really, really enjoy the formulas that are in here. I think the mattes blend out beautifully, and I really, really like the shimmers that are in here. I think it's so, so gorgeous. And it's hard for me to even really explain to you why this one didn't get ranked higher. I just had to go based on my gut, based on the overall vibes. What am I more likely to reach for in the future? And it's not that I'm not likely to reach for this one, because I can see this becoming like a staple every spring and summer going forward. I just think the next couple I'm more likely to reach for. I can't explain it, but maybe I'll be able to explain it as we talk about those, and maybe it'll click. But this is where I landed for this one. Again, it's not a bad palette. I've had so much fun playing with it. I really have nothing negative to say about it. It's a lot of fun. Next up, number 7, I'm giving to the Glaminatrix Pretty in Pastels. This is Glaminatrix's newest palette. They did this pastel dream, as you see here. We have 2 rows of pastel shimmers, and then we have a gradient situation of all the different mattes, including a row of deepening shades at the bottom, which I love. I love when pastel palettes have deepening shades, and I don't necessarily want to see a black, because that's not going to deepen up my shadows. Black plus pastel just equals gray, because pastels are so white based. But if we have like deeper jewel tones of the corresponding colors, it's a match made in heaven. I love it. Really like the formulas that are in here. I've really enjoyed the looks I've created with this. I think it's really pretty. And again, just the fact that this pastel palette has shimmers, true pastels, and the deepening shades, it's kind of just like such a no-brainer as like a palette I'm really going to enjoy when it comes to pastels. It just hits all the marks for me. I really, really enjoy this one. My only little teensy critique, and it wasn't even enough for me to want to really knock it any lower than this, is I just wish there weren't 2 pastel blues. They are different undertones, but on the eyes they look pretty similar. It would have been nice to have another shade in here, like maybe something different, you know, but I'm not mad at it, you know, it's fine. And if that's my only gripe, then I think it's still a pretty good palette, because again, formula-wise, I've really enjoyed this. I've really felt creative playing with it. I think the shimmers are absolutely stunning. I've really enjoyed this one, but everything else I'm just either more likely to reach for, or I vibe with the overall theme more. But this is a pretty solid pastel palette. I've really been into it. Moving on now to number 6, I decided to give it to my Sigma Cool Neutrals palette. This has not launched yet. It will not launch until I think May 2nd. I got to get this early because I went to the Creators and Friends event in New Orleans early April, and I'm so happy I have this. I'm actually wearing this palette right now. And even though at the end of the day, I'm not really a neutrals girly, I like them sometimes, and I feel like this did it really well. And I've seen people's complaints that this isn't cool enough for being a cool neutrals palette, and I get it, and I hear you. It's definitely not a 100% cool tone palette. I feel like it's definitely a balance between some warmth and some cool tones, but I do love that the cool tones aren't just drifting like gray, because I feel like sometimes cool tone palettes can just be drab and gray, and I do love cool tones when it comes to neutrals. I like the way these kind of merge together. I like that we have kind of the mustardy dustiness into this sort of situation over here. I think it all plays together really well. The brand owner was saying that the palette was kind of themed around like an agate, as you can see on like the packaging, and I think the insides really do reflect that vibe really, really well. I think Sigma's shadows are really, really pretty, and these shimmers in particular I feel like are really wet looking and really sparkly. Like, I just feel so pretty when I wear these shadows. I think this could be a really good go-to for me if I want to play with neutrals, or even if I wanted to travel with a neutral palette. I can see this one being the one I bring with me, which is why I decided to rank this one a little bit higher than those previous 2, just because I can see myself genuinely gravitating toward it when I'm looking for something like this. And it's not too often that a neutral palette really pulls me in, but this one I think they did a really, really good job with. I think the formulation is great, and I like the variety I get in here. I think I'm gonna feel grungy glamorous when I wear it, and it is beautiful. But alas, at the end of the day, neutrals aren't my first thing that I like to reach for, so I didn't want to rank it any higher. The top 5 were pretty easy to keep in the top 5, so let's move on to those. Number 5, I'm giving to the new Lethal Cosmetics Mellow Grove palette. This is beautiful. I've really, really enjoyed playing with this one so far. This one I think could also be a really good contender for me to travel with, because it's gorgeous. It's so elegant and kind of glamorous, and it's a little muted, a little dusty, but it's still colorful. It's so pretty. I love seeing these kind of dusty greens paired with the burgundy pinks. I like the couple splashes of purple that are in here. I think this is so incredibly stunning. Lethal has beautiful formulas. The mattes blend so buttery and nicely on the lids, and the shimmers are so just sparkly and wet looking and just pretty. I feel pretty when I wear this. I feel like this just also gives me very like kind of grungy, glamorous vibes, but with more color than that Cool Neutrals palette did. So I really like this one. I love colors. This is very springtime. I think it's so pretty. Moving on to number 4, I decided to give it to the Groovy Garden palette from Ensley Reign. I love this palette. I think it's so pretty. It's kind of like weird neutrals with a twist. Like we have kind of neutral adjacent, but again, it's definitely colors. They're muted, they're dusty, they're weird. I like this kind of retro 70s sort of vibe. The shimmers that are in here are so gorgeous. And I just love the color combinations you could do. Like I like the kind of weird dusty pinks. I love the kind of sagey teals, the different yellowy oranges, and these shimmers just truly take my breath away. I love this. I love the whole theming. I love the color story. I love everything about this. This is again another contender that I could see myself even traveling with because I've had good luck traveling with Ensley Reign shadows. They don't seem to break on me, but I also will never put my makeup, like my powder products, in my like checked bag. That will always stay with me on my person so I can try to be as gentle as possible. But this is beautiful. I could definitely see bringing this around with me because again, like I can get kind of like that pretty neutral-esque glamorous look, but still with like a funky, colorful kind of twist. And I really appreciate that about this one. But the next 3 just pulled my heartstrings just a little bit more, so let's talk about those. Number 3, I decided to give to my Beaute Cosmetics Gloomy Gardens palette. This is so pretty. It's so grungy spring, and I love that so much. I love the weird greens, the weird teals, the orange, the purple. It's so cool. The mattes are really nice. I feel like the mattes have definitely been stepped up since their first palette, and the shimmers are just gorgeous. They're so shifty and sparkly on the lids. I think this is a really fun, creative color story. It's definitely inspiring for me. I love this, like, I feel like grungy garden movement that makeup is doing right now. Every time like a brand comes out with like this grungy garden essence, even if I don't buy it, I just appreciate it so much. I just love this vibe. I love these weird colors together, but still in like a florally cutesy kind of way. It's so fun. This is beautiful. I've really been impressed with this brand so far, and I'm excited to just see what they do in the future because this was great. Like this was, like I loved their first palette, but this was like 1,000 times better. It's just so cool, so fun, so unique, and I'm just really excited about it. Moving on though to number 2, there was no way I wasn't gonna rank this palette as highly as possible. It's the Nomad Cosmetics Ireland Wild Atlantic Way palette. This is their newest palette, although I think they're coming out with a new one in May. So there's already a new collection or palette or something around the corner. I don't know what it is yet. I just know they teased something on their Instagram saying something is to come in May. But this is the Ireland palette. It's beautiful. This is, dare I say, my favorite palette they've done. I just love these colors. I love green. I'm such a sucker for green, if you can't tell based on my appearance. But I love all these greens that are in here. I like the different undertones we have. We have a couple blues, the golds, even those rusty oranges. I think this is so beautiful. Their mattes are so incredibly stunning. They're so blendable and buildable and so easy to work with. I always say it and I'll continue to say it. So beginner friendly in my opinion. And these shimmers are mouth-watering. They are so metallic and wet looking on the lids. They are so dreamy. I love this palette. Like I was convinced this was gonna be number 1 of this ranking until the next one came into my collection and this one got knocked down a peg, but I love this. I think it's phenomenal. It's gonna be hard for Nomad to beat this for me. Moving on though to number 1, this was a no-brainer. As soon as I had this and like touched on it and played with it, I was like, this is by far the best, like possibly of the year so far for me. But it's the Strawberry Moon by Ensley Reign. They did come out with this palette, I think a year or so ago. This is the recently re-updated. They kind of like changed the pans to be like their magnetic format. They, I think, tweaked a couple shades to be a little more unique according to their Instagram. I personally don't own the original, so I can't do comparisons for you. But I just know that I'm so thrilled to have this. This is such an explosion of color. I love how bright and rich it is. I like that there's depth, but brightness. It's like jewel tones meets almost neons. These shimmers are so pretty. This is definitely gonna remain a favorite palette in my collection. I think it's my favorite one the brand has done. Ooh, that's tough. Harvest Moon might still have my heart. I take it back. Harvest Moon's still gonna be my favorite from the brand, but I can see this one being like a close second. I just love how rich and vibrant it is. We have some hollows in here, multi-chromes, all these different colors slathered all over the place. This is gonna be a staple for summer. I can see it now. And I just love this. I love it so much. As soon as I dug my little fingers in it, I was like, oh, I think this might be the favorite for the next ranking. It's gorgeous, it's so fun. I can't wait to continue playing with it. It's just such a magnificent, delicious, colorful situation. And yeah, that about wraps it up for this ranking. Those were my recent 10 palettes that I used, tested out, played with. I would love to hear your thoughts. Did my ranking make sense to you? Did anything surprise you? I think the cool neutrals placement might surprise some of you, just because I own the fact that I'm not a neutrals person, but when I want it, I love it. And I just think this is such a pretty look. I feel like it's just gonna give me that glamorous, grungy vibe anytime I want. So I just felt like I had to inch it a little higher, just for sheer fact of me likely to use it again. But let me know what you think. Let me know what you're thinking of these palettes. Do you have any? Do you want any? What have you tried recently that you loved? I would love to hear your thoughts down below. If you made it to the end of this video, please leave your last 10 most recently used emojis. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Helps my channel out a lot. And if you're not already, you can follow me over on Instagram. I'm BATTYBEAN there as well. You can also subscribe. I'm posting most days over here. You can also join my channel memberships. The link to sign up will be down below. You'll get fun little perks, including a members only video once a month. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Okay, bye.